Yeah, they say like sports are like a microcosm of life, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like everything life entails is like encapsulated in sports, right?
Yeah, that's what sports teach you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Adversity, teamwork,
mm,
hard work,
yeah, exactly.
fitness,
The best
all
employees, the
that
best
stuff.
teammates, if you look at their background, they're usually on a team sport.
Mhm.
They've gone through difficult challenges with sports and coaches. Maybe they've
Yeah.
been through things like you're talking about with the Merchant Marine Academy.
Yeah. No, I'm a huge believer in sports. Like I wish I would have played sports more seriously as a kid. I got like more serious as I got into college. Like I was on
Mm.
the rowing team in college, and
Oh, yeah.
I ended up doing that all 4 years. And like I had never even heard of rowing really until
Mhm.
I got to college.
I'm sure your body type
Yeah,
would
well, I'm
lend
tall and
itself.
lanky, so
Yeah.
like I think my friend was trying it, and the coach was like, "Oh yeah, you got the build to be a rower." And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was like naturally very like
Yep.
inclined towards rowing, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like even in college, as I was older, like
Mm-hmm.
we won some, we lost some, but like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just the teamwork aspect and like waking up at 4:30 to go
Yep.
row on Long Island Sound. Like, I mean, it was brutal waking
Mm.
up, but
Yeah.
I don't want to let my teammates down,
Mm-hmm.
and so that kind of stuff. It was definitely formative.
How do you
But
find out if you're a good rower or not? Do you get onto like a concept 2 rower?
yeah, a lot of it's they call it like, well, it's an ergometer, but like
Mm-hmm.
the slang in the rowing world is ergs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like,
Yep.
a lot of it's based on erg times.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two main tests that you do as a competitive rower. There's a 2K and a 6K
Yeah.
erg test. And so every, the fall is, they call it head racing season. So like, I don't really, I guess like rivers have like headwaters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like that's where the term comes from. But they have all these races, especially on the East Coast, where like, the head of the Charles, like in Boston, stuff like that, where it's you row a long ways down a river.
Mm-hmm.
And to select like rowers for boats and stuff, you do a 6K test. So
Mm-hmm.
a good time would be like, I don't know, in the low 20s, like 20, 21 minutes.
Okay.
And then the spring is sprint season. So it's like what you see in the Olympics, where it's a
Yep.
2,000-meter straight sprint
Mm-hmm.
race.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, you do a 2K test.
How
And
long does that take?
I mean, Olympic rowers are doing 2K tests in 6 minutes, maybe less than 6 minutes.
Okay, so it's like a mile and a half run
Uh,
time. It's still
yeah.
endurance.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the math in my head.
Yeah.
What is 2,000 meters? That's like a nautical mile, right?
Yeah, but as
Right.
far as a runner, they're running 4, 5, 6 minute miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like an all out. It's an
Yep.
all out like 5 or 6 minute deal.
Yeah, and you're at the max oxygen carrying capacity there, so a VO2
yeah.
max is a big deal.
Yeah, rowing I think cross country skiing and rowing have been proven to be like the most taxing sports overall, where it's like you're literally, VO2 max. You're working every muscle. You're exerting as hard as you can as a human being.
Yeah, I can't
And
imagine
at the
anything.
finish line, it's like you're just smoked. Like you're
Right.
done for.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
on the bike you're not using your arms. You're
Right.
using your legs. Rower, you're using arms and legs.
Right. So like swimming, rowing, cross country skiing, things like that, you're using your whole body. And it's
Yep.
like when you win, it's like the best feeling in the world. And when you
Mhm.
lose, it's one of the worst feelings.
Yeah,
It's like after all that and you still
Yeah.
lose, you're like, ugh.
yeah, and you're using your big muscles.
Yeah, well, it's mostly legs,
Yeah.
which a lot of people don't realize. Like a lot of people do like, CrossFit or go to the
Mhm.
gym and they get on the
Mhm.
rowing machine. And I mean, a lot of people who go to the gym do a lot of like, upper
Yeah,
body,
right.
bicep curls, whatever, like for cosmetic reasons. And they get on
Mhm.
the rower and they have like strong arm muscles. And they're like, oh, I'm just going to manhandle this rowing machine. But
Yeah.
that's how you like hurt your back and stuff. Cause
Yeah.
proper form is to use your legs, because your legs are like by far the biggest muscles in your body, and the seat slides, right? So
Yeah.
like, anyway, if you're good at it, you're probably using your legs 75% of the power. And
Right.
then your upper body kind of comes into play for the finesse or the technique, where you're like, there's different phases in the rowing stroke, but it's like when your legs are extended,
Yep.
that's when your upper body kind of comes into play.
Right.
And then you slide back up. And it's all about the, trying to remember the term, the there's like the catch when the oar goes in the water,
Yep.
and then you drive with your legs.
Yep.
And that's where like the power really comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and there's probably some momentum from that is blended into the arms.
yeah,
then,
it's like if you're good and you're like a skilled rower, like it's
right.
all kind of one fluid motion.
Mm-hmm.
And if your boat is good, you're all doing it exactly in unison.
Right.
And then if your boat is like really, really good, then I think they call it the run, where you get in this state where like the boat is kind of like floating because you're like all just moving completely in unison.
Wow.
And it's like one of the most amazing experiences or feelings
That's great.
I've ever had. And it's like incredibly hard to get to that point.
Really?
Oh yeah. But
now tell me about that. That's cool because I'm also interested in Boys in the Boat book.
Yeah.
Have you read that book?
It's a great book. Yeah, I saw the movie too.
Did you?
Pretty recently. Yeah.
Okay.
But great book. Yeah.
I'm sure they talk about that, right?
I think they do. Yeah, because like at the beginning of every season, it's like a different group of kids, right?
And so, how many rowers are in that boat?
Well, for those guys, it was 8. Mm-hmm. So like top level rowing, the premier race is like the 8-man boat, right?
I see. Okay.
We kind of focus more on 4-person shells. When I was, you can say shell or boat. No, it's interchangeable, but being a smaller school, we were able to be more competitive with a 4 versus an 8. So I did a lot of 4 rowing in college.
So is it 4 or 8? There's not a 6?
There's no 6. There's singles, doubles, 4s, and 8s.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and you can have a double or a pair. A double has a coxswain, pair has no coxswain.
Okay.
So when I was in college, I did a lot of 4s, occasionally 8s, and then I did a lot of pair rowing with this friend of mine, Brad.
Yep.
Because we were both like super tall and matched up well. So,
right.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing book, and I think they do talk about that. Where when it all just clicks one day, it's like it's such an incredible feeling because it's like the ultimate team sport, right? Like there's no stars really. Like it's truly like you all have to be pulling together.
Yep.
And it's it's one of the only sports that's like that I can think of. Maybe the only sport where it's like it doesn't really matter what one individual person does. It's like it's a team effort.
So is it really important that the catch is synchronized?
Oh yeah. I mean everything, but that might be the most important part. And if you screw it up, you can, I don't know, for example, there's like something called catching a crab where like your oar basically gets caught underwater and the boat's moving pretty fast. So like the oar gets hung up underwater and the handle can like literally throw a rower out of the boat.
Wow.
Into the water. Yeah. Like you can see videos online, like just go on YouTube, search for catching a crab and rowing. And yeah, literally like the big carbon fiber oar handle will like physically throw a guy out.
If they don't get the rower out of the water, right?
Well, like
it gets caught in the water.
Well, like the oar, the blade or the paddle will get caught underwater if it's like, if he messes up the stroke.
Sure. Just a little bit too deep.
A little bit too deep, whatever. And then the handle will just like, catch the rower and put him out of the boat. Or the boat can flip sometimes if you really screw it up.
Right.
So yeah, I mean it's a little bit risky.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but it was fun. It was a cool experience. And
so in the Olympics, is there a 4 and an 8 or is it just an 8?
There's everything in the Olympics, yeah.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah, it's probably one of the older Olympic sports, I would imagine. But yeah, there's singles all the way up to 8s, and the most prestigious race in the Olympics is the 8.
The 8-man?
Heavyweight 8, which
and
usually it's like, there's like 4 or 5 countries that are always competing for that. It's like England, US, Germany, maybe Italy.
And they have prelims and finals?
Yeah, right? There's different heats, so there's like... Yeah, it's super fun to watch. You have like qualifying heats, semifinals, finals.
And the boat or the shell, they're all exactly the same.
Well, there's different brands. I don't know about like weight specifications. Like for the Olympics, might be more strict. But like in college, like we kind of had our boats that we bought, and I don't think they ever really got inspected or anything. It was just like and then they're expensive. I mean, they're made out of carbon fiber, so
Everything on them is carbon fiber.
well, the whole shell, yeah. So I mean, I don't know exactly how much an 8-person shell costs, but probably 50, 60 grand at least. So it's definitely not a cheap sport.
Right.
Which is why I think it's kind of known as like a, elitist type, Ivy League sport. But which is where it started, kind of. I think like Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, Yale.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a crazy sport. Waking up early.
Yep.
We would joke, like there's this like corny rowing joke that it's the only sport that originated as capital punishment. Like originally they would chain people to oars and make them row like on slave ships and stuff like that. And one day some rich guy at Oxford was like, hey, let's do this for fun. Let's go race down the Thames.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, because you're right. Slaves used to do it. Yeah,
rowing was not a fun thing for most of human history.
Yeah. It probably was part of naval combat too.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like in battles, I think they were like when there wasn't much wind or whatever, they were like rowing to maneuver the ships. And I think those were mostly, slaves down there, unfortunately, or like captured and enemy warriors or And now it's just a thing that,
It'd be cool to go out with you like on Big Lake. Have you seen anybody out there in like a sculling boat? Is that what you call it?
Yeah. Well, sculling is with 2 oars. Sweep rowing is with 1. But if you're just like by yourself in a single man boat, it's sculling. Yeah, I would like to buy a shell actually, but like I said, they're not cheap. So it's a matter of financial priorities. But I've thought about even trying to like start a little Big Lake rowing club.
That'd be cool.
But I don't know. I think the hardest part for me is just being gone all the time for work. Like it's be challenging. But
having your schedule regular enough to like say every Tuesday morning.
That's hard for me. Like as an airline pilot, it's like maybe someday when I have more seniority and I can, control my schedule a little bit more. But we should start that up. Big Lake Rowing Club. Have you ever rowed in your life?
Just in CrossFit, and we got a Concept 2 rower.
Right, but not like on the water.
No, but I think it would be an incredible workout in the morning.
It is.
And
it has to be in the morning. Like you can't sleep in because that's when the water's calm. Right?
Exactly.
I mean, in the evening you
could do it then.
You get out there, but like nobody really wants to go work out at like 8 or 9 p.m. when the water's calm.
Right. Exactly.
I mean,
I'm sure it's a morning thing. Totally.
Traditionally, yeah. Yeah. My uncle actually gets out there. He's got a little. It's not like a traditional racing shell, but it's like kind of like a wider, more stable boat, but it's got the sliding seat, it's got the oars, and he rowed in college at PLU.
Okay.
He actually has this story, which I'm assuming it's true, but the boat, the Husky Clipper from Boys in the Boat, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the one they took to Germany for the Olympics. Supposedly, PLU borrowed it from UW when he was in college. My uncle Gary, back in the 60s, I guess. He was on the crew team at PLU, and I guess they rowed in that boat.
Really?
Which by that point, it was not state of the art anymore, right? And it was probably not yet like a protected historical, thing. Because now I think it's on display in the boathouse at UW. Like you can go do a tour and look at it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's hanging on the wall.
Yeah, I think they have it hanging up in the ceiling at their. They have a really cool boathouse there. It was like a World War I like seaplane hangar or something, and and they turned it into the UW boathouse.
Pretty cool. That channel right there is pretty neat.
Yeah. The
what they called the locks, or what they call that?
Forget. Like in between Lake Washington and Lake Union.
Yeah.
But so he apparently got to row in that boat from the whatever Olympics that was. It was like 38 or
was it 38?
It was the one right before World War II.
Yep, I think it was 38.
Yeah.
That was when the year Jesse Owens won.
Owens, yeah.
And
there's another great movie.
And it was in Germany, right?
Yeah, and
in Berlin,
I think, yeah. Pictures from that are crazy. Like just swastikas everywhere, and Hitler's in the crowd. Like I think everyone was still kind of hoping that things would get worked out with like appeasement and all that. And
totally. Nobody knew that the world was going to be wrecked.
No.